Hey, Billy, you know what's awesome?
What's that, man?
John Rambo.
Sewing up your arm
Yeah.
was perhaps the thing that most of us as little kids in my small town was afraid that we might ever have to deal with. Kissing a girl, yeah, everybody kisses girls. But can you sew up your own arm after
Right.
falling off the mountain?
Yeah.
That was, like, there are so many things in these movies that I think are just life lessons for people, because it's like, oh, well, one of these days you might have to deal with this. So you need to get your awesome survival knife and just keep it sharp and get ready, because
Yeah.
Rambo changed a lot of things.
Everything. Everything. It changed the whole action movie genre. I mean, everything after that is a derivative of Rambo.
Yeah, literally. I think we talked about this before, how the Predator
Yeah.
was, I don't think it was Rambo, but I think it was Rocky in space, or
Yeah.
Rambo in space.
Yeah.
That was movie producers talking about how we're going to take Stallone's star power
Yep.
and this story further, which they did with Jason X. Honestly, like at some point, the Paramount people were like, F it,
Right.
let's just do it. But no, that's where Predator came from, and that was Jean-Claude Van Damme and Arnold Schwarzenegger.
Yeah.
That was Van Damme before.
Yeah.
Well, he got fired from it, but that was Van Damme before anybody knew who he was.
So, a little something to go with that, since we're right here at this point. Also, a big influence on Predator was the movie Without Warning, which I covered on Rad Movie Rama. The same guy that played the Martian in that movie ended up playing the Predator in this movie.
Awesome.
And it's all intertwined, because they said that was a heavy influence on Predator, along with the concept of putting a mega, action star in the middle of it.
Mm-hmm. A lot of times whenever we do these podcast fresh eyes, these go back and watch, whether we do it for the show or whether it's just because I've heard people talking about it on other podcasts, sometimes it doesn't measure up.
Yeah.
Sometimes the memory is better. Sometimes it's better to just leave it stuck in your head as the impactful thing that it was. And then whenever you watch something, sometimes you see the strings, sometimes the acting's bad, like the monster's not as scary as you thought it was, or whatever. I hadn't watched the Rambo movies in a long time, but for this episode, it's kind of funny because I've got VHS of First Blood and First Blood Part 2.
Yeah.
And I asked my wife, I was like, hey, for the show, I need to watch, Rambo movies. And I've got a VCR, I've got the VHS, put it in there, and First Blood wouldn't play. I couldn't make it play. And every time I put the VCR, remember this from the 80s, you put the tape in, and then the VCR just turns off.
Yep.
And it's like, well, I'm not exactly sure what that's about. You expect to pull the tape out and have it all, but it comes out and everything's just fine, and put it back in and shuts down. I'm like, damn it.
Yeah.
So I put to the side, I put in Part 2, and it immediately like hits the end and rewinds itself and then starts playing. And it's got a little wobble at the front, and then it's like dun dun. I'm like, okay, well, I'm not watching First Blood, but I'm watching Rambo.
Yeah.
And I have to say, I haven't watched either of these movies in like 20 years, maybe. Like it's been a long time.
Yeah.
And Rambo First Blood Part 2 was like a song that you knew really well, that you just haven't heard.
Yeah.
But whenever it starts playing, it just hits every note properly.
Yeah.
There's no like lost in time. It is awesome.
Yeah.
Rambo, even if it's a Canon film, which Canon cut corners in a lot of different ways, and they've got a lot of crappy movies.
Yeah.
Rambo is amazing.
Yeah.
So then I watched Rambo. So then the next day, First Blood's available on Amazon.
Yeah.
To rent for like $2.99. So I bought that and was like, watch First Blood. And again, it holds up.
Yeah.
I'm absolutely blown away. There's no there's no weird special effects. We talk about scary movies all the time. There's no weird special effects.
Yeah.
It's just effects, and they work.
Right.
And it's so good.
Yeah.
The Rambo movies, First Blood and First Blood Part 2, deserve every accolade they've ever gotten and every dollar they've ever earned. They're awesome.
Yep.
So that's my critique. What's yours?
Yeah, man. I mean, the first one, you said it a while ago, the sewing up the arm scene from the first movie. It was just one of those things where you've never seen anything like this before in a flick. I was 15 maybe when it came out, and the idea of, I think one of the big things about this too is the fact of our age group knew so little about Vietnam, right? I mean, here's a guy, a left behind from Vietnam with all those skeletons in the closet, just trying to find his way, right? Stumbles into a little town. Could be the town that was in Footloose, right? Because they didn't like him because of his hair, and he's wearing the army jacket, and he don't deserve to wear that jacket because it's his hair, and Dennehy is a great bad guy in that flick for sure.
It really is.
Yeah, because it's believable. He's not like twisty mustache kind of bad. He's your local big fish, little pond scenario, and the fact of that John Rambo's just passing through, right? And that's why it's called First Blood, right? He drew First Blood. I'm ending this game. And there's such a realism about that one because it becomes a game of survival, right? To me, the second one is the ultimate action flick. To me, everything that happened after that is because that movie was so over the top, where he goes back and saves POWs. Mm-hmm. I mean, that whole ball of wax of the second movie is the pinnacle of action flicks. There is no Invasion USA. There is no mission in action films. There is no the Jean-Claude Van Damme series of movies without that second Rambo movie.
Of course.
But it's a full-fledged action flick. To me, the first one, you still get that grittiness of it not being an action flick. It's almost like the original Walking Tall, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's gritty, it's nasty. You're dealing with locals that don't understand.
You just have a character that's just like it's a real life character. It's a real situation.
Right.
And that's one of those things that I noticed watching it the other day is, like cinematography is just like a bunch of mountains and roads and kind of just wetness and just daily life.
Yeah.
It's not like, I want to say like Michael Bay shooting like Armageddon, where it's like here's an American flag in front of a Coke machine, like feel bad for the culture. It's more like, no, this is just life. Right. This is just This is any town USA, and he just could have just walked across your
Yeah,
town.
absolutely.
And it was another. It was a thing about Brian Dennehy too, which is, um, I remember Dennehy's character just being so evil.
Yeah, yeah.
He's not.
He's really not. He's
He's
just
not at all.
typical local guy trying to take care of his community. Things just go wrong, and he can't get out of it. He picked the wrong guy.
He's a jerk.
Yeah.
He's a jerk.
Yep.
But he's not evil.
He's not evil. No.
And this is one of those things because I forgot about the part, and it's a pivotal part if you're paying attention. Like, he sees the hippie.
Yeah.
And he picks him up and drives him through town and then drops him off on the other side of the bridge. And he's just like, okay,
hit the road.
Roll on.
Yeah.
Rambo turns around and walks back towards town.
Right.
Like he ran. And not to say that he didn't have the right, not to say that anybody doesn't have the right to do, like, all he wanted was a hamburger. So he's just like, well, screw it, I'm hungry, I'm going back. But he's also, Rambo is a little bit to blame in this little scenario because he's like, oh, you're a jerk? I'm going to push back on you a little bit.
Right.
and then he goes sideways on him.
Yeah.
And, like, arrests him and whatever. But if you take Rambo out of the situation and you make this movie about the sheriff, you make it about Dennehy. He tries to give a hippie a ride through town. The hippie resists. He arrests him. He brings him home. The guy busts out of jail.
Yeah.
Blows up a bunch of crap and then kills his best friend.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's you can kind of you can see both parts of it for sure. I mean,
Rambo was completely justified in everything he did, but like whenever David Caruso, it's so great. It was David Caruso of NYPD Blue,
right?
Is that little young deputy, and he's like, oh, he's a Medal of Honor winner, and you try to give him crap, and then he's sitting there like over the body of his friend.
Right.
He's like, we've been friends since we were in kindergarten. Like I think a lot because of the way that Rambo, the second movie, blew up.
Yes.
I think if First Blood had been a movie like the Deer Hunter, where it was just left of its own, where you could identify with whatever character you wanted and see their own sort of situational tragedy, which I think honestly was the way it was written. I think that's the way it was supposed to be.
I think so. I mean, we're right on the same page right here, I think, because it's a situation where nobody's really in the right. Both have kind of pushed the boundaries. You just picked the wrong guy that day, right?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you're defending your little town. It's a small little, I think about where I grew up. It's a population of 2,000. This could easily be a situation that would happen. He was being a nice guy by escorting him across town and getting him out of the bridge, on the other side, instead of letting him come in town and being even bigger butthole to him,
Right.
So that's his way of being nice.
And he just gets to this position where he's so deep in, and his friend's dead, and like, I can't get out of it. And Troutman shows up, and he's like, well,
you don't know who you're messing with, do you?
Well, and the thing is, like, I think that was a fear in the 80s too, especially in 82. Like, my dad used to tell me a story about, I don't know, it's one of those like 7 degrees of stuff, but it was a story back in the day where some vet came home and they didn't condition him correctly, and he was sleeping with his wife, and he started having a nightmare, and she tried to wake him up, and he woke up and like snapped her neck and then went back to sleep. Woke up the next day and
and I think it's that thing, because that's what was happening. I mean, these people were coming back look how badly they were treated when they came back from Vietnam. I mean, they came back to a country that was in turmoil, that didn't want them back. They didn't, support the war at all. They're trying to come back and fit into a society after they've been out in this terrible situation. And I don't think, like I said, my age group, we know so little about it because it was ending when I was close to being born, and then nobody talked about it from that point on till you started seeing some movies later on. So there was this huge gap there of, I didn't know the history of everything that went on. And you hear these stories about exactly what you talked about, people that, having post-traumatic distress disorder and all these things because of it. And, what do you do? These people feel like they're just totally lost. That's John Rambo. I mean, this guy is portraying that perfectly. And when it's time to do the deed, there's nobody any greater at it than he is. And
have you seen that original end scene?
Yeah.
That's a hard scene to watch.
Yeah, it is.
And that's the scene that was in the book.
Yeah.
And it's a hard scene to watch because especially when Troutman's trying to talk him down. And for those of you guys who haven't seen First Blood in a long time, and we're not talking about Red Dawn, it's an extremely personal movie. If you can identify with a character, it's like, oh my God, I was sent over here to win a war.
Yeah.
And it was lost for me.
Right.
And then all of my friends are dead. The ones who didn't get killed there have died at home. And I walk around getting hassled by cops all the time. So, like, my life sucks.
Right.
And at the end of First Blood, the book, and the original ending of the movie is that basically Troutman has Rambo at gunpoint, and Rambo rushes him and takes a bullet, takes himself out.
Yep. Yeah, I mean,
audiences did not like that because they liked Rambo.
Right.
They liked the survival at any cost sort of thing. So the suicide by cop at the end, while it's probably the more realistic ending, was not the ending that anybody wanted to see for this character who was a Congressional Medal of Honor winner and a Silver Star and multiple Purple Hearts and just like super badass.
Yeah.
So they just sent him to jail and then dropped him back into Rambo 2, which is the definitive movie of, I mean,
it's the definitive.
These were so awesome.
Definitive action movie, man. It's got just the right amount of over the top that it's not ridiculous, right? It's hitting all those high notes. That freaking torture scene, man. I remember the first time seeing that, just sitting there and just squirming in my chair, man. Yeah, man. 2 is hard to beat, man. It really is.
I mean, and again, that's one of those that UHF starts off with Weird Al in the helicopter, like destroying basically everything, just like in a Rambo scream, just like machine gunning everything and his big guns and his muscles and just
it was parodied,
it all up.
Parodied in everything, man. It was such an iconic movie. Like I said, it set that new standard of what an action flick has to be. And I don't care what superstar you put in the movie, they were making another version of a Rambo-type flick. Chuck Norris made a living off of ripping off Rambo 2 with the mission in action flicks. And I mean, which are great. They're great. But it's no Rambo 2.
Dude, that's how long I watched Rambo versus Missing Action. I was expecting in Rambo, whenever they like got the boat and they're like running away, and then the other boat attacked them, I was like, oh, here's that point at which Rambo busts up out the water with the M60 and just like that. I'm like, no, that was Chuck Norris that did that.
Rambo's not going to do any flying side kicks or anything in somebody's face either. So, but yeah, man, to me that really started the whole action flick flood that we got from that point on. Between him and Arnold, man, I mean, it was. It seemed like every week a new action flick was coming out, and 2 is just. I don't know that there's a better action flick than part 2.
I agree. And you say, yeah, well, you have Arnold, but then you have between Stallone and Carl Weathers and Rocky, and then with Arnold and Carl Weathers and Predator.
Yeah.
And like you had all of these huge dudes just being big. And Stallone was always shorter than them, but always somehow just stature-wise was just. And I think like the great thing is like all through First Blood, like even whenever he's completely out of his mind, he's soft-spoken.
Yeah. Yeah.
He's just and to make I made fun of him a little earlier, but. Stallone, he's all just a little bit soft-spoken. He's got that.
Yeah.
But in the beginning of Rambo, where he's just a guy who's trying to survive. He's got that look.
Yeah.
I don't remember Stallone being that great of an actor. I remember him being a badass and fun to watch.
Yeah.
But I don't remember him being that empathetic. But he's got that. He's got the look.
It works. Yeah.
And he's just, the whole, like, even with the M60, like, this is a point where I'm pretty much suicidal. I'm going to blow some stuff up, and I've been here before. Like, just somebody shoot me, or else I'm going to get my way. Like, here's where we are. It's a character thing. It's not over the top whenever it's just like, I'm done. I'm out. I'm just going to blow some. But man, did you walk around with a survival knife on your belt?
Who didn't have a survival knife, right? With the compass on the end of the handle.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, man. I mean, that was. I mean, if it when it got to the point to where even the toy owls had just lines and lines of toy Rambo knives. I mean, you changed from buying Western 6-shooters to buying a survival knife for kids. I mean, it was that drastic of a change. My stepbrother, I mean, of course, he's a lot younger than me. And, Rambo was it, man. I mean, all of his toys. Like I said, part 2 just opened the floodgates. And part 3 is kind of where I kind of checked out a little bit. Because it got a little far-fetched for me. Trying to outdo the second one. So, hung in there pretty well till he actually had that hole blown through him and he just cauterizes it and he's walking around with a big hole. I kind of like, I know you're a tough dude, but I don't think anybody's that tough that can walk around and you can see daylight through them.
Yeah, right.
And still be functioning. I mean, something's going to be coming out of somewhere because you just messed up your intestines really bad.
Yeah. Well, one of the earlier episodes, the first episode, we're like, Karate Kid. Let's talk about Karate Kid. And when, like, Cobra Kai was like,
right.
Part 1, where there's Daniel and Mr. Miyagi, and part 2, where there's, Daniel and Mr. Miyagi in Okinawa.
Yeah.
And then there's part 3, where it's the chick, and you're like, nope.
No.
There was a part 3 that was not with, like, there was a Daniel and Mr. Miyagi. Like, oh, yeah. Oh, yeah, I do remember that, except for I don't really. Like, once you pointed it out, I do remember it. But it's a distant memory, and I didn't like it.
Yeah.
I was like, this is not a record I want to play again. Like, it's okay. Like, I understand. I I see where you're going, but nah. There just became a point at which Rambo, like you said, it just became like Wolfenstein, where there's like
Right.
robotic Hitler at this point. Oh, I'm a robotic Hitler. You're like, where did robotic Hitler come from?
Right.
It's like you're gonna put the Titanic on skis or something. Like, come on, man!
Yeah.
There's only so badass you can get.
Right.
You just let it go.
And that's what I mean.
But
It was too over the top, and again, we got so saturated with action flicks that it just became another one of those at that point, right? I mean, because it wasn't doing anything different besides just the craziness of, having the warheads on the arrows was kind of cool, right? I mean, but I don't know. I lost interest at that point, and
yeah, I didn't.
Probably because there was a cartoon that was coming on, there was action figures, it totally became, a kid's thing, and usually when that happens, when you're a teenager and everything starts aiming at the kids, you kind of go, yeah, I'm out.
See, I'm a little younger than you.
Right.
I got all of those Rambo toys for Christmas.
Ah.
Dude, all of them. I got the play set, like the Vietnam. It was like 4-sided watchtower, and it was a bamboo watchtower, and it was not very well made. Like, it had these little clips. It's like you laid them across each other and you clip them, and then you had clip them, and then once you got them and you set a guy, it would all come tumbling down.
You mean like a real one?
Yeah, it did kind of suck. But man, the Rambo figure, which was the best made, obviously, because they're like, oh, we can't mess up this one. Rambo and Troutman, those two.
Yeah.
Dude, Rambo's scars, you feel his chest. They were. And he had scars. He had the knife. He had the whole everything. Man, they had this little play set. It was a Rambo play set, and it had a pistol, and of course, you're looking at me on video like it's a 1911. It was a 45 caliber pistol. It was like this big, and but there was this little plastic Buddha.
Yeah, yeah.
So if you remember in Rambo First Blood Part 2,
yeah,
his liaison, her name was Cho. She had a little bamboo necklace, and he asked her about it, and she said, "It brings me luck." What brings you luck? And he showed her his knife. And then she ends up getting killed after they kiss. And he takes off her necklace and puts it around his own neck to bring him luck.
Right.
Which is weird because it didn't bring her luck.
Yes. If she's dead, she's wearing the necklace. Yeah, I don't think that worked out very well.
Yeah.
We never said Rambo was the smartest guy.
Dude, I wore this little jade plastic Buddha on my neck, and I had a red bandana. Oh, I was 10 years old.
Well,
man.
sure.
Yeah. I was king of the neighborhood. Yeah. I was like, Rambo.
That was my little brother, man. Same way. I mean, that's tied a headband around him and grab his little fake guns and go out in the yard and kill all the bad guys,
Oh, dude, killing bad guys was... We're going to take a break, and we're going to play you a commercial, and we'll be back and talk about killing bad guys. All right, let's talk about killing bad guys. Rambo kills the hell out of some bad guys.
Oh, yeah. In 2, 3, 4, 5.
I think in part 2, he's got 59 kills. No, not in part 2. Like, he didn't get 59 kills in part 2. In part 2, he got his Congressional Medal of Honor, his Silver Star, all that other stuff. He's got like Army Ranger status. He's all of these Green Beret. like all this stuff, and he's got 59 kills, which is a huge amount of kills.
Yeah.
He easily doubles that in part 2. He easily.
Yeah.
Like, so he's easily at 120, 130 kills in at the end of part 2.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, that's the thing. We always talk about the slasher flicks and all that stuff. Oh, Jason gets, 12 or 13 this episode. Yeah, I did about 150 in this one.
I liked, I don't know, it's 1985, so Red Dawn came out in, 82? But he did, I think there was a little tribute to Red Dawn.
Yeah.
Because he's flying the helicopter, and he turns around, and he's, like, firing the machine guns back at the helicopter. And he did take out the side gunner.
Yeah.
The side gunner does get killed.
Yeah.
But the helicopter does not go down. He takes out the gunner.
Yeah.
And then turns around and runs away. Just like in Red Dawn. If he would have just aimed slightly to the left, he would have blown up the helicopter with that RPG.
Yeah.
But instead, he just knocked that dude out the window. It's like, ah! Like, we talked about Red Dawn before, but is that not one of those most disappointing things in the world? Is that you fired at the helicopter.
Yeah.
You hit it center mass.
Yeah.
You didn't take
it out.
Helicopter out. You just knocked a dude out. Like, I've been killing dudes all day long. Like, I could have just shot that guy. I wasted my last RPG and knocked that guy out the back of the helicopter. They did that same thing in Rambo.
Yeah.
Yeah. He falls out the back, like, still shooting.
Yeah, keep on going. Keep on going. Oh. So did you see the later ones? Did you see part 4? Did you see part 5? I haven't seen the very last one.
I didn't.
Dude.
I did watch part 3,
yeah.
but I don't remember the Karate Kid part 3. If you tell me what happened, I'll be like, oh yeah, I remember that.
Yeah, 3 is the one that's oversaturated. 4 is that came back in early 2000s, and he's a lot older. And, dude, that's about the bloodiest movie I've ever seen in my life.
Really?
It is insane gory. Dude, there's one scene in particular where he's got it's a big gun that's mounted on the back of this vehicle. And, I mean, he's taking off legs. People are running, and their legs are coming off while they're running.
Nice.
I was just like, holy crap. I mean, you always think about Saving Private Ryan, that the opening of that. Yeah, this is like that. I mean, it's that kind of level of just stuff going on. It's pretty brutal, man. And I've heard that the last one is really good too, but I never got a chance to see it.
I mean, like we were talking about earlier, like, awesome can be Mandalorian because it's new. And we love it, but it talks about stuff that I remember Rambo 3.
Yeah.
And I think I enjoyed it. Like, I don't have anything bad to say about it. Like, it wasn't like it was like, oh, this sucks.
Yeah.
But I remember, like, being like, okay, well, I think this has jumped the shark at this point.
Yes. Yep, that's exactly what happened to that one.
And so then in, like, we got a new Rambo 4. I'm like, I was done then.
Yeah.
Like, okay, well, Rambo Last Blood. Like, well, I remember that scene where Rambo was supposed to be killed by Troutman at the end of First Blood, and that, like, the whole rest of this is a dream sequence. So I'm kind of I'm okay.
I think you ought to check them out, man. At least check out the 4th one, because it redeemed itself, man. I mean, there was parts there I almost wanted to get up and cheer. I was like, that's freaking insane. It's so good.
All right, okay, I'll check out part 4.
And
I mean, I gotta go back, dude. Like I say, Um, sometimes, it's not really. It does happen with the horror movies sometimes. Whenever
Mm.
we're doing stuff for Scary Dad, it's like, oh, have you seen this? I'm like, no, you go watch it, and like,
Yeah.
I remember this being scary, but it's not anymore.
Right.
Like I remember this being fun, it's really not anymore. Like so you watch movies sometimes and like Smoking the Bandit, for example,
Mm-hmm.
and I enjoyed watching it, but I'm also realizing that I've got like three movies sewn together in
Sure.
my mind.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, do I need to watch 2, 3, and 4 in order to find all of the scenes that I remember?
Right.
Rambo was just perfect straight on.
Yeah.
Like there's nothing I forget.
Yeah.
Like I remember First Blood was in the mountains of Colorado. I
Absolutely.
remember Rambo was in Vietnam.
Yeah. Yeah, the
And
third one is more straight up fighting Russians, right? And it's more in the
Afghanistan.
yeah, and it's I don't know, it's just doing more of the same, but it's just more crazy over the top. Like I said, the arrows with the, you know, RPGs on the ends of the arrows, and I don't know. It was. I think at that point we got so much Stallone that you're just kind of tuned out on that as well, because between him still cranking out the Rocky movies, and you're starting to get Cobra, and you're starting to get all these other
Mm-hmm.
flicks right here at the same time, and then all the Arnold flicks, all the you're going through Predator and Raw Deal and all these other Schwarzenegger flicks, and you start sneaking around the corner with some Seagal stuff coming in. We got oversaturated, man. Oh, don't forget Commando in there, man.
Joined Army 6 June 69. Accepted Special Forces. Helicopter and language qualified. Expert in light weapons and guerrilla warfare. Sylvester Stallone is back as Rambo. Rambo's the best combat vet I've ever seen. His mission, to locate American POWs in Vietnam.
Think you'll find someone? POWs? Doubtful.
His orders, not to engage the enemy.
He's got 36 hours to complete the mission and reach the extraction point. We're going down! You're not going anywhere.
I'm telling you to abort. Double-crossed and left behind enemy lines.
You're the one who's making the mistake.
Yeah, what mistake? Rambo. And now, he's getting out any way he can. Rambo. What most people call hell, he calls home. No man, no law, no war can stop him. Sylvester Stallone is back as Rambo. First Blood, Part 2.
I think things are good. All right. All right, so back to the survival knives, man.
Yeah.
You said you carried one. I carried one. Did you carry one to school? Did you carry? Were you
No,
allowed to
I
do
didn't
that?
take it to school. No.
Um, I actually was able to. This is weird, like '80s before everybody went and got their pennies in a wad, and moms and dads yelled at everything, and like helicopter parents and the internet and Karens.
Yeah.
No, we had Halloween like dress in your costume days. So I had my camouflage pants and I put on a belt and I threw on my survival knife, and it was like you say, like you had the compass in the bottom,
Right.
and you unscrew it and it had some fishing hooks and a couple needles and fishing line, and
Well,
it was like
in a situation like that, yeah, you could probably take it for something like that, but you couldn't just take it every day and say, "Hey, look at my knife."
No, that's what I mean, dude. If I think if my children knew how to spell knife, somebody would call the ATF at this point. Like,
dude, we had Gangster Day during homecoming week. We had Gangster Day, where you dressed up like the mob. You came in with fake machine guns, baseball bats with nails sticking out of them. I mean, you know.
See, normally I like to say, like, children are stupid, but really it's the adults that are stupid, because why would they allow that? But at the same time, like...
Well, it's that thing of, there's a difference between being educated and having common sense.
Yeah,
and
there's a lot of that.
Sadly, we're lacking more of the common sense part of it. And I don't know about you, but life will get you, you'll get a lot further in life with some common sense versus,
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I'm not knocking an education, but I'm just saying, again, look at John Rambo. A lot of what he learned was because of a lot of common sense and the tactical skills that he had, right? It wasn't because he was super educated. So
yeah, well, education is supposed to be a knife sharpener.
Right.
It's not supposed to be the knife.
Right.
Okay, well, dude, like when I was a kid, I had the survival knife. I'll describe it right now, man. It was the coolest thing in the world. The thing was, of course, I was smaller then, but like 8 or 10 inch long blade, like curved up, just like out of Rambo.
Yeah.
And on the back side, it had the fish scaler, is what they called it.
Yeah.
But which I tried to scale a fish with it because I used to fish a lot back then, and that didn't work. And in that one scene of Rambo where he's got the survival knife and he's like cutting barbed wire with his he didn't have a bottle opener, a proper bottle opener on his knife, but my knife had a bottle opener on it. Dude, you can't cut barbed wire with a little it doesn't work. Even if you knew how to do it, it doesn't work.
Right.
It does not scale a fish.
Yeah.
It's
I would figure the actual knife part would actually scale the fish, but that's just me, cuz
well, dude, they call it the fish scaler.
Yeah.
Like, well, if you buy a microwave oven and you have it sitting in the corner and they're like, well, this actually does the best sort of microwaving, you're going to look over at your oven and be like, well, why do I have that if I got this? Like, your fish scaler, you're like, well,
sure.
I don't understand why a serrated back of a blade. Anyway, I carried this thing around everywhere.
Sure.
I carried it around all the time. I had the compass.
Yeah.
And I had all the crap that was stuffed into... It even had a little sharpener on the front, like a little sharpening stone on the front of the scabbard.
Yeah.
So you stick your knife in there. Dude, I'm probably really lucky that I didn't stab myself in the leg so many times because of the Rambo, like...
Right.
And he, like pulls his
the
headband on. He's like, whew! tightens his headband and like puts the necklace on. It's like, it like pops up, like it doesn't hang as a necklace.
Oh no, it's like a choker.
And then he got his knife and he sticks it in the scabbard. Like, whew.
Yeah.
I'm so glad I didn't ever stab myself in the leg because, man, I reenacted those scenes plenty of time.
Again, man,
whenever anything would get loose, I'd be like,
those montages, man. That's those things that stay in your head. Commando's got the same thing, right? Where he's putting on the makeup, right? You're going, oh yeah, about to get
somebody's
good.
About to get somebody's going to get told.
Yeah, and he does the same thing. He's strapping on the grenades, and he's putting his knife in the sheath and the makeup. I mean, so it's those montages, man. That's action 101, right? You gotta have it.
It's so good. It's so good because, man, I go camp, I go hunt, I go do whatever. It's like I have never like whether I was mad or not, because I have been mad. I have been angry putting a knife into a sheath. I have been both of those things at the same time. Yeah. I've never taken that knife and been like, shoo! and try to stab through the sheath and just been like, well, I'm angry, so I'm going to put the knife in the sheath and throw it in the bag, and just, I'm still mad.
Oh man, yeah. I mean, just again, the impact of that.
The cartoons,
the
toys,
the big knives. You know, because you can't talk about big knives and not talk about Crocodile Dundee too, right? I mean, because right. Same scenario, right? The big Bowie knife, basically, is what it was, and it's just wild how that was kind of the fascination of the time. But I mean, Rambo is an '80s icon. I mean, you can say Sylvester Stallone is, but Rambo in general is an 80s icon. Mm-hmm. One of the biggest. Just about any movie you see from that time period. You know, I recently was on another podcast where they were doing a Trick or Treat. We were doing a commentary. And there's a scene where the mom is about to go out with this guy, where the guy shows up and he's dressed like Rambo. You know, that just shows you the impact of the time. She was dressed like either Madonna or a Valley girl, and he was dressed up as Rambo, and it, again, goes hand in hand with that time period, man. It was everywhere.
Dude, my whole life was G.I. Joe.
Yeah.
Rambo. Like, honestly, it's weird because the whole Vietnam, the whole Vietnam vets, the whole not being interested in war. War is bad. Yeah. Right? Like, except for all of my toys were war is awesome.
Yes.
Fighting is awesome. War is awesome.
Well, because in the back of our heads, you know, there was the threat of the nuclear attack, which is way scarier. So it really downplayed military type war, you know, hand-to-hand type stuff. So, I mean, but it's always been that way. I mean, kids in the 50s and 60s had the little army men, and I mean, that's just
of course.
It's just it's the same thing. You know, it's teaching you to kind of prepare for the worst things that can happen in life. You know, it's a strange way to look at it, but that's what we do. That's what horror movies is. Horror movies is to prep us for dealing with the really bad stuff that's going to happen to us in our life and make us go, I can handle this because, you know, I've seen worse things in these flicks.
Oh, totally agree. It's just one of those, like, well, the world's about to end, so...
Yep.
Hey, Rocky, you got any more of those AK-47s lying around? Because I could probably use one later.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I think that's really just the mindset of where we were. I mean, guys are always going to be attracted to a form of violence, even if we don't see it as violence, such as Ninja Turtles, you know, whatever you want to call it, Transformers. It's still the same thing, right? It's good versus evil, and you want to be as prepared as possible. If that wasn't true, we wouldn't have decades and decades of kids being in the Boy Scouts, right? I mean, you would almost want to be a Boy Scout after watching Rambo because you want to be able to go out and fend for yourself.
I was and did.
Yeah.
I'm one of those guys.
Yeah, I mean, and it goes hand in hand with that whole philosophy of what we're talking about here, that impact. It's just strange how, something comes along and it just becomes, like I said, it's such a strong 80s icon. And yeah, like you said earlier, the fact of, Canon getting their hands on it and it not coming. Well, I mean, they did do part 3 as well. So yeah, there you go. I mean, it can definitely get to that Canon level, right?
The thing about Canon, and you know more about Canon than I do, but the thing about Canon, which is so crazy, is they like good movies, bad movies, and movies we won't even talk about. We'll do them all.
Yeah.
Like it's kind of like Golden Globus. It was just one of those, like, I remember those credit roll-ups. It's like, it's a Golden Globus production.
Yep.
I remember even being little, being like, this is either going to be the best thing in the world or the worst thing that I've ever seen.
That's canon. I mean, the Golden Globus is canon. So
based on that little scroll, it's like,
yep.
This is either going to be awesome or it's going to suck.
That's exactly what I said.
I really
when we were covering, I think it was Army of Darkness, maybe Evil Dead 2 on Hell Ming, and I brought up the fact that the movie is produced by De Laurentiis, and I said, when you see the name De Laurentiis, there's a 68% chance it's going to be pretty good. But the other percentage is like, yeah, I don't know.
Dude, this is my kind of like snow blind or nose blind or however you want to call it. Like, De Laurentiis, Scott was like, we need to do a show on Dino De Laurentiis. I was like, okay. He's like, you know his movies, right? I was like, I mean, I've seen his I've seen his name on a shitload of movies.
Yeah.
So what are we talking about? He's like, good movie, good movie, good movie, bad movie, bad movie, bad movie, bad movie. I was like, is this the same guy?
Yeah.
Like, as far as I knew, it was like a complete, like,
well,
it wasn't necessarily the same guy.
But you got to remember, it's producing though. So I mean,
Well, yeah, but
it's kind of like the Golden Globus thing, right? So yeah, I mean, here's the guy that did the unthinkable and did the 1976 King Kong movie, which, flaws and all, it's still my favorite King Kong movie. I love it.
Right.
But, Amityville 2, I mean, you can go down this list and go, you know what? Okay, I got to give you credit on that one,
He did Bill and Ted.
Yeah.
He did, like, Evil Dead and, like so many different things.
Yeah.
And that's what I was saying. It's like you said, it's like Canon or Golden Globus, just like different things where, like, okay, well, there's good movies in here. There's also bad. So what are we talking about? He's like, all of them.
Right.
Well,
the whole shebang.
Like,
yeah, you really need to see. You need to see the documentary called Electric Boogaloo, which is that's the Canon story. Oh my gosh, man! I mean, you see that Canon logo is so iconic because, I mean, look what you get. It's exactly what you said. It didn't matter. They were going to pump way more money into a movie if it deserved it or not. that was the philosophy. So, Ninja 3, right? I mean, but you're talking about all your Van Damme stuff is canon. Cobra is canon. The last, a lot of the Rambo stuff, you got, Over the Top is a canon film.
Over the Top is a great movie.
That's the movie that broke. That's the movie that broke the company.
Well, that's fine.
They paid
They
Stallone so much money, over the top money, to make that movie that it actually broke the company.
They should not have done that, but Over the Top's a good movie.
So that's canon. That's canon in a nutshell. Because every one of them, they're laughable, but you go, you know what? It's a pretty good movie, man. I mean, Electric Boogaloo. I mean, you get Breaking 1 and Breaking 2. Which are the breakdancing movies. This is all under the canon umbrella, man.
Rambo
Superman
First Blood
4.
Part 2.
Superman 4 is a canon flick.
Rambo Part 2 is a canon flick.
Yeah.
That's what we were talking about is it's
All your Chuck Norris stuff, that's all canon. Firewalker?
There's so much stuff that you can absolutely not take out of the 80s and make it still work. I don't think they would make Rambo now.
Well, and I think that's what he was trying to do, because I don't think you could start it. I don't think you could reboot it. I think that's what you're kind of saying.
Right. Well, no. I mean, like, if you had a similar story, let's just call it like imagine Rambo didn't exist, and imagine it's called like Mo-Ram.
Right.
Like,
well,
it's about a guy who had a Afghanistan story, and like all of Rambo's accolades, like all of the same things. There's something romantic about Vietnam that is not romantic about the desert.
Sure.
Like that people kind of identify with, like because
it's a timepiece. You know,
it is. Except we've been in the desert for a crap load longer than we've been in the jungle.
Well, to me, isn't Taken and John Wick and all these shows, they're still derivatives of Rambo.
Well, they are, but you're not going to take an original, like the heart of Rambo, the heart of First Blood is these guys got a raw deal.
Yeah.
These guys were sent over there to win a war, and they could have won it. Yeah. That's the whole thing about Rambo. I could have won it if they would have just let me win it.
Let me do my thing. Yep.
And they wouldn't let him do it, and so then they pull him back, and so then he's damaged by both the war and his inability to execute.
Right.
And then dropped into the real world where everybody's like, well, we don't like you because you were at war and you didn't win. And it's like so he's getting it from both sides in both fronts. Like I mean, that's a killer thing to have to deal with.
Yeah.
Like, oh well, I could have won the war if they would have let me, but they didn't let me.
Yeah.
And then he comes home and they're like, well, you should have won the war. He's like, well, I would have won the war if they'd let me, but they didn't let me. Like, we shouldn't even been there at all.
Yeah.
Like, well,
no way to win. Yeah.
Big machine gun.
And so you end up being scarred externally and internally, you know?
Man, like you said, what I said, they would not make this movie now.
Yeah.
That would be too subversive, I think.
Probably.
Like, James Cameron wrote Rambo. He was. Did you remember that?
I don't
James
guess I did. Huh.
Part 2 from a screenplay
okay.
by Sylvester Stallone and James Cameron.
Okay. Yeah.
James Cameron's coming off of Terminator.
Yeah.
And Stallone's coming off of Rocky.
Right.
They I mean, this is before Oliver Stone got in there. Like,
right.
I still live in I live in Rambo world.
Sure.
Like, it's
just as much a part of our DNA of what we grew up with, and that whole Americana thing. It's no different than the music that we like. It's that stuff that we cut our teeth on, and it's still that measuring stick, right? You know, deep inside, we still want to be John Rambo. We still want to be that guy that can handle the worst of situations. We still want to be that guy that's passive, that has the lost puppy dog eyes, and survive in the world. But we want to be able to immediately be the one that takes care of ourselves too. It's the reason we're so fascinated with the ninjas and all that stuff. It's the same scenario of, I want to be the good guy who's nice and passive, but when I have to, I can throw down. That's
I'll be the bad guy.
It's the Bruce Lee story, right? Every character he played in every movie was exactly that. It was the Kenny Rogers song, right? Coward of the County. You know?
Yeah, I just want to be left alone.
Just leave me alone. I don't want to start anything. But when you push that button, you done messed up. And that's exactly what, you know. So, yeah, Rambo's a derivative of that. You know, you take the character that Bruce Lee played in all those movies. Well, all those movies. All 3 of them. 4 of them. And give him the Vietnam background and base it off that book, and there's what you got.
I think we're hitting the end of a show. I'm going to go put on some camo and pretend I'm Rambo.
Yeah, you do that at 11 o'clock at night and see if you don't get smacked.